Welcome back to Fast Guard News, where tonight we're going to talk to you about a very interesting topic. It's going to involve the transition from being an athlete to where your whole life is kind of planned out for you, plan towards a goal, like in high school. We'll start it in high school. High school athletics, I believe, is where athletics, and I swear this episode is about security guard service, but being an athlete in high school kind of prepares you mentally to be disciplined enough to make it to practice every day, to be smart enough to deal with your schoolwork and turn in assignments. And it's your start into like that collegiate behavior of growing up being an adult. One of the things that people don't talk about a whole lot, and we've talked about it in the past, I don't think ever on air, is that once a person graduates and they've spent all their free time, like remember when in high school they had certain people, if you had a job, you could leave at like noon because they're giving you like almost like an opportunity to go get on the job training. But if you play football or sports, soccer, baseball, 9 times out of 10, you can't participate in those programs. So you're already kind of set up being an athlete on a trail towards being a professional athlete. Like you're getting prepared to go to the next level. And in many cases, I would say in like 99% of the cases, a lot of people don't go to that next level in sports, whether it be basketball, baseball, whatever the case. And what happens to all of those athletes once they graduate high school and they've had no formal job training, no outlook?
Well, let me start that off by saying I believe everybody, male or female, should play some kind of sport at some point in life, whether it be football, baseball, basketball, track, or be involved in some type of art that requires practice, focus, dedication, where you can make mistakes and learn from mistakes, because it builds character, right? And there's a lot of life lessons that you can grab from that experience and apply in many different areas of life. Also, with that being said, a lot of athletes that are, serious or dedicated in high school because they want to go to college, like when you're young and you play a sport and you get serious about that sport, or you develop some kind of passion, or you become good at the sport, like that becomes part of your identity. And then at some point, everybody's sport playing days has an expiration date. And depending on when that expiration date happens, whether it be during high school, after high school, in college or after college, or as a professional, and then you when you finish playing as a professional, that's part of your identity. Part of your identity is kind of goes away, and you have to figure out, who am I now? Like, what am I going to do now?
I think that's the hardest part. Like even like you were talking, even from like Little League, like when you start, I think Little League ends at 13, right? 13U. So right before high school, that next year if you're 14, you're going to high school. That Little League portion is, it's kind of setting you up. You can start at 5. So they're starting earlier and earlier and earlier to train people to what ends, right? What means. And I think that that's part of the issue is like when I was in college, I think I told you earlier today, I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life up until my 3rd year.
Right.
And it went from high school. All we did was football and track, but the focus was on football. We had somebody on our team that was going to a big college, and it was a big deal, and we ended up getting a scholarship, and we were pumped. There was no doubt in my mind at that point that we was going straight to the league. You get into college and you start playing, you live that very structured life of you got to be at this workout, you got to go to class, you got to do this. Then that second year I transferred to another college, you transferred to another college, and we stepped out, tried to go walk on. You get out there, you deal with all the walk-on mess, and it's like really at that point we probably should have pumped the brakes on it because there are success stories like Rudy of people who walked on and it made a big deal. But the reality is, if you're not an athlete that's highly sought after, and they didn't recruit you, you getting the thirds down the trough because they've invested money in some of these athletes, and that's something that your parents probably didn't know about unless they were collegiate athletes. So you're going to be basically the first one in your family to learn about this. Think of how many people take that voyage, spend money, get into debt, going to college. And again, I was up until my third year, and I still didn't know what I wanted to do.
Right.
And now you're getting into now adulthood, to where instead of, think about if you'd have started that job at 18, like a lot of people did. A lot of people graduated and they had great paying jobs at that time, and they started working, and they stayed in that field all the way through. Some of them still in it now.
Yeah.
Think about that, like how much experience they have.
Yeah. Well, one of the lessons that you learn from sports and from practice is what? Repetition. Right. So those that, the light bulb went off early, okay, I'm probably not going to be a professional athlete. I'm going to go and start this now. They're getting reps. And eventually those reps are going to pay off. And if they're in the right field, and if they do the things that they should do, if they apply the principles they learn in sports, then they should be successful. But there's a lot of skills in sports that translate to life, and there's also a lot of skills that people don't grab from sports that some of them have a hard time acquiring later in life or acquiring at all.
Being on time.
Being on time. If you were dedicated in sports, being on time should not have been
Most
a problem.
people, if you're dedicated in sports, you're early. You're a captain. You're there early.
One of the biggest things is, communication. Conflict resolution. Like, luckily for me, I had a father that was extremely big on details, like the small things. And I hated it when I was younger. I understood it when I got older. But like, I remember this one thing sticks out of my mind still to this day. I laugh about it. It was a conflict I had with a teacher in middle school. And my dad was coming to the school to meet with the teacher, and he asked me, what's the classroom number? And I was like, I don't know, it's my science class. He said, you mean to tell me you walk in this class every day, you walk right past the placard on the wall that says, building 6, classroom 2107, and you've never seen what classroom number you're in? He was like, what if there was a shooter that came into school and I had to come get you, and you can't tell me where you at?
That's food for thought.
I was like,
yeah, let me go and remember. Yeah.
Like, and even as a youngster, we'd be traveling, going on road trips. He would ask me, what direction are we traveling? Right? East. Why are we traveling east? Well, because of where we lived at the time. If you're heading towards the sun or you're heading towards the water, that's east. That's how I learned it, right? So now I ask my kids these same questions, and luckily they got it. It took a while.
That's the first thing I learned when I got to Florida. When I got down here was if you're going towards the beach, you east. You're going east unless you're in Naples.
Right.
Then you're going west. Reversed. Yeah, but no, and those are all very important lessons to teach kids. The other thing is you look at the young age and you hear how people are motivating themselves. Hey, man, it's all or nothing. We all in on this. If this don't work, I don't know what to do. No plan B. This is it for us. This is how I'm going to buy my mama her house. And again, like I said, the numbers go way down when you talk about people going to major colleges. Unless you're going to a school where they recruit, it's not a lot of the whole team's going to Ohio State. It doesn't work like that. And when you understand that dynamic of football or basketball or baseball, that basically it's an individual sport, you also start understanding some of the facts of life that come with work. The problem is like you said, people don't. I think that it needs to be taught a little bit more and maybe slowed down a little bit to help articulate to these children that are growing up, becoming young men and young women. There should be an aspect of sports that talks about working and on the next level and when it's done for you. Because again, I kind of panicked. I didn't know what to do. I didn't even want to go to school.
Right.
Because it was like I was only going to school to get to the next level of football. When that was over, Man, it's a million other people just like me and you that had an idea of what sports should have been and what you thought you could have did and should have did, but it didn't happen that way.
Yeah.
And you realize it's a big difference. Now that I'm older, I can look back and see the kids that are recruited. Like you talking about a recruit going to University of Texas and they paying for everything now. 1,000%. That's how it works. They're investing in a product versus you going standing in line trying to get in somebody's college. Yeah, we'll give you a shot.
And not to mention, we played many years of football, and luckily we didn't have
debilitating
injuries. But like when you have someone that has the gift of genetics, and they're 6'2", 6'3", can bench press, whatever, can run the 40 and sub 4.5, and is just a hell of an athlete, and then they have a injury, a devastating injury. They tear an ACL and fracture a leg, whatever. That person has a long road to climb, because football or basketball, whatever sport,
it's their life.
It's their life. That's their identity. They have to reinvent themselves.
I think it's even worse for the guys that made it to pro, but not really. Those guys that get in their first year, get hurt or get cut early in the game, and then have to find their way. There was a guy, I'm not going to mention his name because I don't know how he feels about it, but I'm talking about number one athlete.
I mean, there's a lot of them.
And last time I seen him, he was working at UPS, which, again, not a bad gig. But I think that in that situation, he's tall and he's big and he looks like, a football player.
Yeah. And every time somebody sees him, they're probably,
hey, man, I know you. Football. And this person played Division I football and was on TV.
At a major university, yeah.
Man, it's tough. So, it's a lot of those guys. And then guys get embarrassed by that. They don't want to go get jobs because they feel more embarrassed that, man, I got to go get a job out here, and everybody know that I was the man on the football field. Everybody thought that I was about to go and be one of the greats, and I didn't do it. So now you got to face that shame every time you somewhere. Man, hey, you're that quarterback. A lot of guys can't get through that, but real life must go on, especially if you want to go forth and be a productive adult and have children and get married and stuff like that.
Well, some of those instances, like you mentioned, that's where having the right coach comes in. Like I was very fortunate in my life to have had some great coaches at the little league level, the high school level, and even the college level. My first job that I got, the reason I got hired was from a glaring review from one of my little league coaches. I didn't know this at the time, but the lady I interviewed with, she was dating one of the coaches. I didn't know that. And obviously I didn't have any job experience, so she asked me about job experience. I said, this is my first job. All I've done up to this point is, play football. And I told her who I played football for. And, she went back and asked her boyfriend, hey, do you know this kid? And, when I got hired, she explained to me why she hired me. And she was like, I asked, I ain't gonna say the coach's name, but he told me that if he's anything like he is on the football field, you got one hell of a worker. And that's how I got my first job.
How I got my first job was a coach plug. I can remember my coach, Wendell, he got me in. Like he went and talked to the people. I guess he was buying trophies from this company and getting the end of the year trophies for the kids. And I told him I was looking for a job. I was trying to apply at all these places. He was like, man, go holler at them at this trophy shop. It was a small job. Taught me how to make trophies, how to print T-shirts, all that stuff. And that was my first gig. I worked there for a full year until I got another job at Publix. Right. But, that coach, that needs to be talked about too, like how coaches are really that first plug into getting you. But think of how many people weren't able to make that transition. Think about all the coulda, shouldas, all the people that got big letters from big colleges and big offers and fizzled out first semester.
Or the ones that, they got slid through because of their athletic talent, that they weren't kind of pushed on the academic level or on the thinking level about life because everything came so easy to them because of athletics. And then when athletics is taken away,
it's over.
That person is really handicapped because he doesn't know what to do. Right? Hold on. I can't play football or basketball or baseball anymore. Now I have to figure it out. And, I keep hitting these walls where before, all the doors were open for me. All the red carpet was laid out. So,
I think that's why law enforcement or security careers are such a natural flowing river for athletes because, people think that when you're going to be a police officer, it's all about being rough. Police officers is more about thinking than it is anything. The people that you see on the news are unsuccessful at thinking their way out of things. The people you see beating people up on film are obviously people that didn't learn anything from law enforcement. They got in there and want to do all the wrong thing. You have to be smart and articulate in both the law enforcement and security careers. I've seen a lot of people that were getting out working for rental car agencies. Like the NCAA had like a program at one time with like rental car places. And that's an interesting deal because rental car locations are a business. They teach you how to work computer software. You learn about sales. You learn about this. You learn about that. Maybe you might get a bump up as an executive, but it's like a hustle house. I think things that bring a little bit more structure that kind of show people the ropes and then they're able to accelerate from there. I don't know how successful athletes are. I had a buddy one time that was manager at a location because they started him out. He had a college degree. He was an athlete. They gave him that fast track. And he never really did anything after that because I don't know what skills he acquired from managing a rental car location. If you want to like move forward in things that are going to motivate that type of hard work, it's not a whole lot of jobs out there that really accommodate that. Everybody likes workers, but like there's certain things on certain levels, like job wise, that athletes I think get bored at. So you really have to kind of plan that out. It's the same thing with a major. My first major was marine biology, and then I seen what marine biologists do, and I was like, those guys are nerds. I'm not doing it. And I was reading all these stories about Jacques Cousteau and all this stuff, and it's like, it's a very interesting job. Then my second deal was, you know what? Since if I can't be on the field, I'm gonna do sports medicine.
That's what I thought I wanted to do.
And then you learn that sports medicine is not being a doctor that you go see when you get hurt. It's taping people's feet during the game. It's like, nah, that ain't really my deal. I'm running water out of people. I ain't gonna do that either. So, lastly, I jumped into college and then got in there and was doing forestry. Then I ended up on criminal justice because somebody that I knew was doing criminal justice and his life seemed pretty easy. So I was like, let me go ahead. I could have had a degree in basket weaving and been a police officer. So again, it's a lot of structure that's needed for kids to be successful. Sports have that job, right? Sports teach you a lot of skills you need to be successful. The other part is the guidance, and that's why I think that there needs to be more guidance with sports. I think coaches need to pull the guys to the side that aren't that good and think they're that good, because a lot of people rally behind, hey, I'm on this great team, and we did this, but the team is multiple individuals. Like I said, the individual aspect of sports is when it's time to go to college, because they ain't recruiting the whole team, they're recruiting you. Right. And so people need to be realistic. I know a lot of people that are unable. We went to college on a prayer that we're going to make it. We even know, all right, we're starting off in 5th position, but if we work really hard, it can happen. You can. What was Aaron McNair? What, he went to Alcorn State?
Alcorn State, Division III.
Division III, killed it.
I don't know how that happened, but that's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah, he killed it, right? And then became Aaron McNair, was in the NFL.
He was in the Heisman running.
I know. He was balling. Yeah. I mean, he looked like Bo Jackson out there throwing the ball. So you look at that, and in some strange ways, a few more guys who went to HBCUs that balled out, that went to the NFL. It could happen. But 9 times out of 10, if you were that level of talent, you would have went D1. And not saying that D1 AA or D3 or NAIA don't have good athletes. It's just at that level, if your thoughts are going pro, you got a lot of work to do, and the odds are stacked up against you. You got to be like completely killing it.
Right.
And even a lot of guys learn in Division I programs. I mean, I talk to guys all the time that went D1 and got up there playing big position. They started on the news.
Yeah.
And didn't do anything, and their afterlife was tumultuous. Like it was painful
Because of the transition.
And a lot of guys would jump into like club security. Man, I worked with 5 guys that was on the NFL when I was working at the club. 5 dudes that were still, I mean, they weren't probably playing, they was a little older, but they were in the NFL, and then they ended up there making $12 an hour, working security at that particular location. And I discussed with them then, like, hey, you're 6'9". You could lift another grown man up over your head like a wrestler. You never thought about any of these things? You never thought about maybe you can go get just one client and do bodyguard on an executive level and just have that client fly all around the world. You can go and do anything other than working in a nightclub because that's like entry-level type security. And some guys are just unable to hear it. They like working nightlife to get tips and all this stuff. But like as far as structure, you went to college, you got a college degree, which, means a lot to people on paper. You have all the things that a person would want in an employee, but you want to be a cool guy, I guess. You want to work in nightclubs.
So they didn't acquire those critical thinking skills.
Nah, I'm talking about Division I guys you see on TV, and it's like, you're here?
I mean, but again, this is probably a whole nother topic, but at this point, I mean, probably even before this point, like major Division I college football, it's a business.
At this point, now with NIL,
And
it's a business.
And now that the guys that are playing the game at that level have the ability to earn money now, I mean, most of them aren't really going to play, aren't going to those schools to go to school. They're going for football, right? Now, the intelligent ones are paying attention in school and learning and figuring out what am I going to do after football. And I think a lot more coaches are pushing their guys in that direction. But you still have quite a few of them that meet this criteria that we're talking about, and they end up, doing weird, odd jobs and things that they didn't think they would fall into. So, what you're saying is security is a viable option, but security at what level? Right?
Yeah, you want to come in and be at a higher level than just working as a guard. And again, that's where a lot of their imagination comes at. You can be almost anything. You have a degree. You just need to press forward, and like you're going to get a lot of doors open for you because of that. But again,
well, some of them don't have degrees. I mean,
no.
Like I said,
if you left in 3 years, if you left in 3 years and you went to the league and you didn't plan for anything, your knee gets blown out first game, your career is over.
But if you have a good coach, right, they're going to make sure you have.
You're going to be prepared,
right? If you have parents that are 100% behind you, they're going to push you also to get that degree. But there's a lot of them that don't have a degree, and coming from someone that had to pay for part of their college education, you hear people say like, "How do guys get a scholarship, free education?" and then leave there
without
taking advantage of the education. And I was like, yeah, you have a point. I know people that had full ride scholarships and left.
And then they can leave and then come back and finish it if they want to. But again, that's the thought process. They're not setting us up for success. This is why you see guys working UPS. And again, I'm not talking, let me say courier service, but this is why you see guys.
Nothing wrong with working at UPS.
Nothing wrong with it. It's just that you coming out with an education and you had so much charisma, especially if you're a big name athlete, a lot of opportunities going to be open to you. And at high levels, you should be looking for that particular deal. But it's a lot. And that's why we want to unleash the Future Guard Alliance that we're doing with the nonprofit to go and really train kids in high school. Like, you're going to leave high school with two things, a high school diploma and a security guard license. I think every athlete should be able to take that. I'd be willing to teach the class absolutely free here in Florida, and that's what we're offering since the last year. But you have to find people that are interested in that and understand their interests. Everybody thinks they're going to the NFL. The reality is, like, think about me and you played Bulldog Rec League together. From Bulldogs to high school, how many people didn't make that leap?
Quite a bit.
Quite a bit. I would say it was about 5 guys from Bulldogs on my team and the team above me that made maybe 10 guys, right? Then you get to high school. How many guys that played freshman, sophomore year, made it the senior year? Some people got messed up early.
Right. Or just quit.
And couldn't hack it. How many guys made it from senior year to that last football game, playoff game or whatever, to the next level, which is college? They got even invited anywhere to go play.
Right. A small number.
It went down to maybe like 3, 4. And then you look at those numbers and how many of those guys went to the next level and did anything sustainable. There's one.
Yeah, an even smaller number.
Yeah, so it's like you're out there competing for a lottery pick. Like, it doesn't happen all the time. And even if you do everything right, you're the biggest, you're the strongest. I didn't know Willis McGahee had tore both ACLs. I didn't know that. He had tore one in high school, then one in college. And it's like
both knees.
Both knees. Yeah. Any other coach, any other organization would probably look at that as damaged goods.
Well, you gotta give props where props are due.
To his agent.
No, not his agent.
And freaking to him.
To him, yes. To his agent, yes. But to the freaking doctors,
they put it back together.
The UM doctors, man.
Yeah, his knee was out.
Yeah.
But again, think of that. He went through all of that. Everything on paper say he ain't gonna be nothing in the NFL. He turned out he probably gonna go Hall of Fame.
I don't know about that, but
that's debatable.
I mean,
I like Willis McGahee, so yeah.
So do I. He had a great career. Don't get me twisted. I don't know. I got personal different feelings about the Hall of Fame.
The Hall of Fame, yeah. You want Jerry Rice?
I think about Hall of Fame running backs. I think about Barry Sanders, Emmitt Smith.
Yeah.
Brown, Eric Dickerson.
Yeah, you gotta be really toting that rock.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that guy had 2 torn knees going into college. He got another torn knee at one in high school, one in college, and still went. That doesn't happen for everybody.
Yeah, that's a small percentage of individuals.
And then think about with both of your knees being tore up, how that's going to affect you and later on in life. What does football prepare you for? What does basketball prepare you? What do team sports prepare you for from a mentality standpoint? What are they looking at going up against opponents and being down against a big opponent in a big game and coming back? That thrill of you getting out there, shoving it down their throat, and then being able to have the sportsmanship to come back and shake their hand. Like, all of these are things that I think are super valuable from sports. But I think that people are taking the wrong aspects. I think that if you're in high school, prepare yourself. Do the smart thing. It ain't going to hurt you. You're talking about 40 hours of your life to have a certification to do something, because there's very few states, I think Wyoming and maybe Georgia, you don't need. No,
it's a couple more.
That don't require a license to do security guard service. But, unless you're in those locations, everybody else got a requirement. And having a high school diploma is usually the bare minimum. So you want to get trained up to do something in life. What we're trying to say is, don't go to college. Don't finish high school with no outlook on life. Look at security as maybe a valuable option, and don't just look at security as, I don't want to be a rent-a-cop. Look at security as the future of security is going to deal with cyber. It's going to deal with the integration of everything. Be part of that change. Maybe you could be the next great one. Maybe you could own your own company. Food for thought.
It's been done before.
Yeah.
Or you can reach us online at www.fastguardservice.com or by phone at 844-254-8273. We hope to hear from you soon. Thank you guys and have a great night.
Have a nice one.